In any squad builder, your heroes are only as good as the gear you equip them with. So in today's video, I'm going to review all 19 of the equipment sets here in King Arthur Legends Rise so that you have the information you need to gear your heroes in the best way possible. I am Colred, this is Colred Plays King Arthur Legends Rise. Let's get started. Thank you to my sponsor for today's video, King Arthur Legends Rise. If you are interested in checking out the game, you can download King Arthur using my download link in the description of this video. When you use my link, it definitely helps me out, so I appreciate all the support. And in the comments below, let me know how you are enjoying the game. I love to hear all of those stories. So once again, thank you. Now let's get back to the video. The best place in the game to see all of the equipment at a glance is in the Forge. If you click on Equipment Crafting, you will get a full list of all of the equipment sets and the Keepsake sets as well. We will start here with the attack set. I think this is an okay early game and mid game set for damage dealers. It's not flexible as a 4-piece set. I think you will eventually outgrow it. So don't bother forging any here in the Forge. You'll just get pieces from the equipment dungeons and other rewards, and you can use those pieces. You should have some very good pieces, so you don't need to avoid this set, but I think you will outgrow it. The critical set is a little bit better than the attack set. It's more flexible, and early on, you're going to use it to try to approach 100% crit rate on your damage dealers, but eventually you're just going to use it to round out a build and make sure that you have the exact crit rate that you need so that you can get to that 100% with your buffs and your passives. The speed set is arguably the most important set in the game. Vigor is the only other set that could compete with it for that title. This set will go on your heroes that need to set up your fight. So when you want a hero to go faster than the enemy and faster than everybody on your team, potentially somebody like Morgan who decreases turn meter of the enemy, you're going to want them in a speed set. Plus you're going to want speed from the ring and from the orb. You're going to want as much speed as you can get. And this is one important place to get that speed from. So it is a 4-piece set, a little bit less flexible, but I think it's still a critically important set. You're probably going to want 4 or 5 heroes specifically in speed sets, maybe even more down the line. Damage set, I think, is a good end game set, but probably not a very good early game or mid game set, because until you get consistently to that 100% crit rate, you're not really getting the maximum benefit out of a damage set. So don't worry about this if you're in the early game or mid game, but start putting together a good damage set once you approach the end game. Accuracy is a great all-around set. It's going to be usable in the early game, in the mid game, and in the late game, because you always need anybody who has a negative impact on the enemy to land their effects, whether that's a debuff or a dot or a turn meter decrease or an abnormal status, whatever it is, you need accuracy to land that. And so the accuracy set will probably flesh out a lot of builds. You could add a speed set and an accuracy set to Morgan, and there you go. Now you've got her going fast so she can decrease the turn meter of the enemy, and then when she does hit the enemy, the effect will land because of the accuracy set. So incredibly valuable set, maybe not quite as important as the speed set or vigor set, but it might be the third most important set in the game in terms of overall impact. The defense set, I think, is a pretty good set. It's going to go on a lot of your tanks. It's a 2-piece set, so it's very flexible. It gives a nice amount of defense. And the great thing about a lot of tanks is they do damage from defense as well. So they don't just get tankier, they also hit harder when you put them in a defense set. That's never a bad thing. So I would say this is probably like an A-tier set. It's not one of the best sets, but it's certainly one you don't want to forget about. The life set I would put right next to the defense set. I think they're both very good. They're good for tankiness, but the life set, the benefit here is not that it will increase anybody's damage, but rather it will increase the healing of your healers, because most of those abilities heal based on max HP of the caster. So this is one way to boost survivability and healing in your healers. For other heroes, it can be just spot use. It's good for early game and mid game. Eventually, you'll move away from it for other heroes other than your healer. The Drain set is a set I would love, but I actually think it's underpowered. This is basically like a lifesteal set or a vampire set from other games. You do damage and you get a percentage of that damage back as health. In this case, it's only 10%, and that's not enough because you're not boosting the damage stat with this set. So you're doing less damage and you're receiving a small percentage of that HP back. I built a couple of these. I used them on various damage dealers. They did okay, but they were really underwhelming. And generally, when I just relied on my healers instead, that was enough. And then I could pump out more damage by putting my damage dealers in those damage sets. This is also not really a tank set. A tank set, a tank would probably be better off in like defense and life or accuracy or maybe vigor. There are other sets that a tank should be in. They're not doing enough damage to really get value out of this anyway. So I don't know who this is for. I would like to see this buff to like 15 or 18 or even 20% drain. Then I think it might be valuable in some places. But for right now, I would probably avoid it. There might be some niche uses for it, but I can't really find any on my roster. The resistance set is a good set, I think, for specific fights at the late stages of an account's life. So near the end game, when you need a specific hero to never get stunned or never get a particular debuff, then this is the set that's going to come in. So I think it has very limited use, but when you need it, it's going to be incredibly powerful. But you can probably wait a while. If you're in the mid game, it's not really a high priority. The heal set is an excellent set for healers. This doesn't add tankiness to your healer like the life set does, but you can actually use this heal set with one life set. That could be the best of both worlds. But then you're not getting speed or vigor from your healer, so you have to decide if that's one of the spots on your team composition that you want speed from, or particularly vigor. I run about half of my healers in heal sets and half of my healers in vigor sets. They all kind of work well, so you'll have to decide for yourself which one's better for how you run your heroes. The counter set is a nice set for specific heroes who have really good default skills that maybe land a special effect or activate a particular passive. So you can put this just one set on with somebody who's already in a 4-piece set for one of the other sets, or you could put 3 sets on and get a 54% chance of a counterattack. Plus, sometimes there are passives or even buffs that can give additional counterattack rate. So consider that. I think it's going to have spot use, but again, when you need it, kind of like the resistance set, it's going to be extremely powerful. The vigor set is probably the best set other than the speed set. Like those two are going to be 1 and 1A. I don't know which one's really better. Vigor is probably going to be used more frequently, but it's also a little bit trickier to use well. Remember that you're getting extra vigor, which is going to help you tactically in terms of using your relic skills. But what it doesn't do is increase your stats in any way. So you're not getting tankier, you're not hitting harder, you're not healing better, right? You just have more access to your skills. So you can potentially become inefficient by using too many vigor sets. You can just start putting them on everybody because it just makes life easy, but you actually don't need as much vigor as you're generating then. So I would say you're probably going to want somewhere between 1 and 3 vigor sets on any team composition, but I would go slowly. Like, get a good vigor set, put it on a hero that you think can really benefit the team because they can just use their A1 or they don't need, a whole lot of vigor on their own. Maybe they even generate vigor from a passive. There are a few heroes who do that. And then make sure that the speed tune is such that the vigor doesn't get wasted, because it's possible to try to pass vigor on to the next hero, but you're wasting some of it. And so then you don't really need the vigor set at all. So be careful with this, like study it. It's extremely powerful, but it's also a little bit tricky to use. Whereas I think speed is just more easily understood. You can figure out, I go faster, I do better. That's awesome. Finally, we have the elemental set here. When attacking, it has a 35% chance to inflict an element-based dot on a single target for 1 turn. It doesn't have a cooldown. You can literally do it every turn, but a 35% chance feels really low to me. I would like to see this at a 50% chance. I think that would be better. If you had a dot hero who applied a dot at a 35% chance, that would feel pretty weak. Now, I know this is in addition to the regular attack, so it's a lot of extra damage, but it still feels like if you need a dot, you would rather just use a different set we're going to talk about in just a moment. So I think this is a little bit underwhelming, kind of like the Drain set. It could be good under certain circumstances, but it probably needs a buff to really bring it in line with the power of the other sets in the game. Now let's look at the Keepsake sets. There are 6 of these. We're going to ignore the base set because that doesn't matter. The Immortal set is the first one. After using a skill that heals, gain a 2-hit barrier for 3 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. I like the idea of the immortal set, but I honestly feel like it's probably not that beneficial. If you need additional survivability for your healer, a 2-hit barrier on a 3-turn cooldown is not enough. It's just not enough. There are very few instances where that will be the make or break of, the fight. I could see it happening, but I think in general you couldn't rely on it. So as a result, I think there's a better survivability set lower down. It's not bad, and if you get some from the equipment dungeon and you throw it on a healer, it could be good. Probably a healer that's healing a lot, not just somebody who heals like every second or third turn, but somebody who heals every turn, because as soon as that cooldown comes down, you want it to go back up. The Strife set is when a target dies, gain attack increase for the rest of the battle, charges attack gauge by 100%, which is powerful, and drains a percentage of damage dealt to heal. This is on a 2-turn cooldown. I think this is a great PvP set. It's not usable against bosses at all. It would have to be in wave content, so maybe you could use it in story mode, but in general, story mode is super easy compared to the dungeons. So I think this is a PvP set. You would put it on somebody like Bedivere. So basically, Bedivere nukes one target, gets a full attack gauge increase, goes again, nukes another target. He's got a passive that can give him attack gauge fill anyway. So you synergize with that hero's skill set to make this extremely powerful combination. I think there are only a few heroes in the game that could use this, but the ones that can will use it to incredible effect. But it's primarily for PvP or maybe some wave-based content. The Corrosion set inflicts a random dot after a dot is placed. So this is on a 3-turn cooldown. The dot goes up for 2 turns. That's not bad. Anytime you place a dot, you get an extra dot. This is certainly better than the Elemental set. The Elemental set can be used by any hero. The Corrosion set needs to be used by somebody who's already placing a dot, so there is that. But this is a 100% chance. If you place a dot, you get an extra one. And it's on a 3-turn cooldown, but it goes up for 2 turns. I think it's a decent set for most dot heroes. I don't know that it's critically important. You could certainly pump damage in other ways. You could add survivability. A lot of dot heroes are tanky or supports, so you might get some value out of other sets here for those roles, but it's certainly one to consider. I think it's about an average set. The Fortitude set, upon being hit when the current HP is 20% or lower, HP recovery is 40% of the max HP, but only usable one time. I think it's still really good. I think it's really good, especially if the heal will save you from death. Now, I don't know if that's true because I haven't actually had one of these fire in that situation yet. So what I mean by that is, like, if you get hit at 18% and it's just taking you down to 10%, you're going to get a 40% heal. You're going to end up at 50% HP. But what happens when you're at 5% and it knocks you down to negative 5%? Is it going to heal you back up to 35% and save you from death? Because if that's the case, then this is the best emergency, like, break glass kind of set, right? It's going to save an important hero, probably your healer or your tank, and just give you another couple of rounds to get done whatever you're trying to do. So I think the Fortitude set is extremely good, and again, probably goes on a healer or a reviver, of which there's one, or, a tank maybe a tank. Now, the Focus set is the most versatile set in the game, and that includes all of the basic sets, because this set gives a different bonus to every hero based on their role. So attack-based heroes get Fighting Spirit, which is an increase of crit rate and crit damage. Then for defense, they get Metal Armor, which is a buff that gives increased defense and reduction of damage taken. That's awesome. Support gets Tranquility, which is effect resistance increase, which is good. And then for control heroes, you get effect accuracy increase, which is massive, and hit accuracy increase, which is okay. So I think for 3 of the 4 hero types, this may be the best set. At the very least, it's a great set because remember when you forge these keepsakes, you have to pick a favor, right? So it's stag favor or hound favor or whatever. But that means you can move these pieces from, say, one hound favor champion, like a support, to a damage dealer, and the set will be just as effective, right? So for instance, if you move Corrosion set from a dot hero to, I don't know, a healer who doesn't have dots, it loses 100% of its bonus. The bonus doesn't matter anymore because you're never going to place a dot. But if you move from a healer, or from a damage dealer to a healer in the Focus set, it's just a switch of the buff that they get, but they still get a buff that's important to their role. So focus set is really efficient. It's really versatile. I think it's very powerful. This is probably the best all-around set from the keepsakes, at least. The Unity set is probably the other contender for that title. At the start of battle, grants Unity to all allies that are the same element as the hero for the rest of the battle. And Unity is basically an increase in attack and an increase in defense. So you get the stats that you need to do damage and survive, which is awesome. The extra consideration here is that you need a lot of different relics on different heroes because you want to match affinities, elemental affinities for your entire team if you can. And the most important hero to have all of the relics on is the one wearing the Unity set, because then you can always match all of the other heroes. There are times where you want multiple elements within the same fight, but if you want all of the same element within the same fight, then a Unity set is going to be very powerful. And I don't know if this stacks. You can let me know in the comments below if you know if Unity stacks. Can you get 2 or 3 stacks of Unity? Because if you can, then that would be incredibly powerful. Because basically you could say, well, I'm bringing in 4, flame elements, have 4 Unity sets. That's 40% increased attack and defense. I don't know if that's possible, but if you know, definitely let me know. But either way, I think even one set of Unity would be valuable to a team where all the heroes have the same element. That is it for this one. Let me know in the comments below what you think about my ratings for the various equipment sets here in King Arthur. Did I get it right? Am I undervaluing some sets, or perhaps I'm thinking something is more powerful than it truly is? I'd like to hear your thoughts. And once again, thank you to my sponsor, King Arthur Legends Rise. I'm enjoying the heck out of this game. I hope you are too. I will be back with more videos in the future. That is it for me. Thank you for hanging out. I have been Colred, and I will see you in another video soon.